Welcome back to Hot Water Wrestling, and today we're going to talk about independent wrestling. I know my channel's very WWE centric, and well, I apologize for that in many respects. That I follow all types of wrestling. I enjoy WWE, I enjoy the Indies, I even enjoy TNA a little bit when I'm not telling them to fuck off, and they're not horrible. But, anyways, to make a long story short, depending on what mood you're in and depending on what you feel like, you'll find that there's plenty of wrestling product out there for you to enjoy and watch. And just because it's not WWE doesn't mean it's not any good. I'm making this as a guide for someone who may be just watching WWE and TNA and would like to know more and would like to know, how do I start watching any wrestling? Because every time I go to check into it, it's either really not interesting or I can't really find it. Well, one way you can do it is there's magazines like Pro Wrestling Illustrated and The Wrestler and Inside Wrestling, which is a double magazine. Now, you will notice that on the covers of these magazines right now, you do have WWE stars, which is the case this month. Sometimes there's not WWE stars on the cover of these magazines. It just so happens when I chose to do this video, it was, unfortunately. But you'll see inside that they do cover ROH, and you'll get to read about plenty of wrestlers that you may never have heard of before, and you'll get a full analysis. And by reading the articles in here, you'll find out about different federations and different wrestling outfits that you can go check out. I first heard of Brian Danielson, by reading this magazine. He was actually on the cover of this magazine, and it said, is he the best in the world? And it went on to talk about ROH, and it went on to talk about Dragon Gate, and that's actually how I found out about Dragon Gate, was reading that article. So you can get these magazines at any good newsstand, but sometimes some drugstores carry them. CVS is a popular drugstore here in the United States, and I buy my Pro Wrestling Illustrated at my CVS. Not all CVSs carry it. But so check out Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Like I said, it varies. Sometimes the magazine is a little more geared towards the WWE, but the cool thing is that, like here, like you've got this guy Adam Cole, and by reading this article and checking this out, you're going to find out about some other wrestlers. This guy's in a CZW federation, the federation called CZW, and you'll find out all about all different kinds of federation. He's also wrestled in Dragon Gate. It goes on to talk about he's wrestled in ROH. It's a great way to get into the indies and discover. And you don't waste your money, because these magazines also talk about WWE wrestlers and TNA wrestlers. So if you don't like the articles on the indie wrestlers, you can go ahead and read the articles on the WWE guys. So it's just not a total waste of money. The other thing is, of course, DVDs. Now, I've got 4 DVDs here that are excellent introductions to indie wrestling. First, we have Dragon Gate, Open the Untouchable Gate. This is a really fine event. It has Brian Danielson's one of his very last indie wrestling dates before he went to Nexus and signed on with WWE. Actually, I think he went to FCW for a little while. So you're going to buy this, but you're also going to get Brian Danielson on here. So once again, it makes it worth the money. If you find out you don't like it, at least you have that match that you're going to want to watch. And then you have Brian Kendrick, Spanky. Of course, the Brian Kendrick is also on here. But this Dragon Gate, Open the Untouchable Gate, I will say, is a really good way to experience independent wrestling if you're new to it. You have some familiar faces, and you'll be able to check out the promotion. It's a lot of fun. It's a great promotion. I love Dragon Gate. I wish you would come to my area. Another one for the bloodthirsty fans out there. This is a crazy federation, but this DVD, you can pick this up on Amazon for relatively cheap. It's CZW Extreme Action. and it contains all sorts of crazy matches with light bulbs and barbed wire and all sorts of madness, ladder matches, and you can see the back there. It's absolutely crazy. The CZW is a very violent federation. Lots of blood, lots of extreme wrestling. But if that's your thing, check it out, Combat Zone Wrestling. Now, forgive me for being a little bit all over the place in this video. I'm very sorry. I'm kind of shooting from the hip. I'm very busy these days. I just had a new kid, and I'm still doing work, and I still want to do my videos. So then we have ROH's Greatest Rivalries. Now, there's 4 DVDs in this series. There's The Best in the World, there's The Stars of Honor, there's Bloodstained Honor, and then there's The Greatest Rivalries. So there's 4 of them. I have 2 of them with me right now. I own all 4. But, you know, Greatest Rivalries is a wonderful, this would probably be one of the #1 intro indie DVDs I would recommend. If you're going to buy one DVD to get you into the indies, this would be one. You're going to have some familiar faces on here, and you're also going to find out about a lot of guys you've never heard of, perhaps, if you don't watch indies. But you've got a lot of the big indie guys like your Austin Aries and your Roderick Strongs on here, and your Super Dragons and guys like that. Bryan Danielson's on here, CM Punk is on here, Samoa Joe is on here, Raven's on here. Now, you've heard of some of those guys, but this is a great intro DVD, the ROH, and there's 4 of them in this series. It's Bloodstained Honor, Stars of Honor, Greatest Rivalries, and then we have Best in the World. And Best in the World takes you around the world to different promotions that the ROH guys went to, such like in Japan and whatnot. They bring these wrestlers over to America to fight the stars of Ring of Honor. So actually the matches mostly take place in America. A few of them take place over in the UK, but basically it's stars from around the world, from different promotions all over the world, coming together to fight the Ring of Honor guys. And again, it's another great intro DVD to indie wrestling. And you'll be very happy with it, because the reason I chose these DVDs is that they have some familiar faces on them. And it's neat to see the guys in the beginning of their career, before they were famous and before they were glamorous. But it also gives you a chance to check out what indie wrestling's like. I don't really recommend the ROH on HD Net so much as that it doesn't really give you a full scope of what they're capable of. It would almost be like recommending someone watch an episode of ECW from 2009 or 2008. If they were trying to check out WWE, it's probably not the best representation. You'd probably send them towards Raw. So I wouldn't dive into the ROH on HDNet. I would go track down some of these DVDs and check them out. And they're going to give you an idea of what indie wrestling is like. I do own more indie wrestling than this, but I just brought these 4 DVDs out because I feel that any 4 of these is a really good way to break in and figure it out. Every year, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, let's go back to this real quick, they release an almanac of wrestlers. And the new one should be coming out very soon. And it lists all the wrestlers in the world. And if you simply buy that, you can go through and read about all these different wrestlers and all these different promotions. So I urge everyone to support the indies. If you have an indie promotion in your neck of the woods that you can drive to and go see a live show, absolutely go do it. You'll have a great time. Here where I live, we have the CCW, Coastal Championship Wrestling, and I make it out to that as often as I can. Sometimes they bring in stars. Scotty Tuhati was there, and Dustin Rhodes, who is Gold Dust. The Warlord has been there, among others. Tatanka was there. The Sandman was there. But sometimes they don't have any stars. It's just the local guys, and it's a lot of fun. And you can go meet other wrestling fans, and you can talk about different promotions and whatnot with them, because they're really into it like you are. So that's a good way to do it, and a great way to, actually the best way to do it is if you can find an indie promotion in your area and go see it live. That is the #1 way to get into indie wrestling. So support your indie wrestling, and have a nice day. See you next time on Hot Water Wrestling.